Hello, I'm Oded Grober, and today on the Social Blog, we'll be discussing peace. Just a few weeks ago, Jordan and Israel celebrated the 20th anniversary of their peace treaty. Jordan is the second Arab country after Egypt to have signed such a treaty. And today we'll be asking, what does peace really look like? What ultimately drives a successful agreement? Is it the mutual economic interests, ideology, or is it the people who decide? We have a lot to discuss today, so let's go to the studio and meet our guests. So we're joined today by two of our regular guests, Yoni Shadmi, a community organizer and activist and founder of Tetel Tehran Haifa Tel Aviv. Hello to you. Dan. And Elizabeth Tsurkov, blogger, activist, and research fellow at the Forum for Regional Thinking at the Molad think tank. Quite the title. Good for you. Thanks for being here. Let's not waste any time and go straight to our portrait. Shortly after the signing of the Israel-Jordan peace treaty, Palestinian-Jordanian businessman Omar Salah lobbied the U.S. to open a free trade zone in Jordan that would promote business ties with Israel and the Palestinian territories and allow Jordan to take advantage of U.S.-Israeli free trade agreements. Today, there are several such zones in both Jordan and Egypt, both rewarded for signing peace treaties with Israel. In today's portrait, Yael Gaaton went to meet Yuval Yacobi, the Israeli CEO of a planned Jordanian-Israeli industrial park. Let's take a look.
Welcome to Jordan Gateway, Industrial Free Zone. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Meeting Yuval Yacobi, the CEO of Jordan Gateway Industrial Park, inspires the feeling that the dream of a new Middle East is closer than ever. The industrial park is the first large-scale project of both Israel and Jordan since the signing of the peace treaty between the two countries in 1994.
It's a joint industrial zone shared by Israel and Jordan. On the Jordanian side, we have 12 employees now. The park employs about 150 Jordanian workers. We have 9 factories. On the Israeli side, the bureaucracy halted everything.
The industrial park is located in Israel's Valley of Springs near Bet Shan, where the nearby periphery is hungry for economic development. Despite the endless bureaucratic problems, a year ago, the project finally received a green light from the Israeli government with a confirmed budget. But the journey to that point was arduous and exhausting.
The Shabak Security Agency, the Defense Ministry, the Army, the Ministry of Economy, the Interior Ministry, Populations and Immigration Authority, a total of 22 bodies full of red tape that you have to pass through to obtain all the necessary approvals to present to the government in order to move forward.
Hello, Yuval. طيب حبيبي شو في غيره؟ تمام كيف أمورك؟ والله ممتاز كله تمام. كيف كان في دبي؟ والله كان ممتاز. شو بكتير.
Yacobi splits his life between here and there. Every week he crosses the border to Jordan. Despite his Jewish-Israeli identity, he emphasizes the normality of his daily reality.
The Jordanians that I work with are my friends. I talk to them every day on the phone. I visit them. They invite me to their houses. We go out for dinner. You'll find there Arabs and Israeli Jordanians, and Israeli Jews and Druze, Palestinians of 48, Jordanians of Palestinian origin, Iraqis, Saudis, and Americans, all of whom sit on a daily basis and do business.
מדברים ביזנס.
כמה אמרת? 200,000 דולר?
350,000 דולר בשנה. כשיש לי 700 דונם שמתוכם רק 20 דונם עובדים. כמה עולה לי להחזיק את האזור בצד הירדני? יש לי שומר. ברור שלאשתי, או לאמא שלי.
Obviously, my wife or my mother or my friend, when I tell them I'm going to Jordan, they don't understand how I can feel safe there. It sounds crazy to them. I have moments when I'm a little worried, but I know that Jordan is highly stable in terms of security.
אני יודע שירדן מדינה מאוד יציבה מבחינה ביטחונית.
20 years have passed since Israel signed the historical peace agreement with its Jordanian neighbor. Diplomatically, not much has changed since then. But with time, Jordan has become a lucrative business partner, thus propelling the economies of both countries forward.
The Jordanians I work with every day are people who separate the politics from business. And everybody talks about how much they're against war, and that we should focus on development and prosperity, not other things, both on the Israeli side and the Jordanian side.
All right, so you're both activists, grew up in Israel, experienced war, and maybe a little bit of peace as well. Is this what peace looks like?
Well, Oded, I think that this is what peace looks like when you have basically a dictator to work with. I think it's comfortable for us to say, okay, there's good things on one side, like peace and democracy, and bad things on the other side, like dictatorship and war. But this is not the situation in Israel. We only have peace treaties with countries that are non-democratic, like Egypt and Jordan. And the reality is that if there was a real electoral process in Jordan, the peace agreement wouldn't last. And this is basically our problem, that we still rely on these high-level contacts with the Jordanian military and intelligence and, of course, the dictatorship itself. And we're basically missing the important part of it, the people themselves. And this is what we need to work on.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. But the peace is lasting. We're certainly not in a state of war with Egypt and Jordan.
Yeah, I would agree, but it's temporary. It's temporary. In the strategic sense of the word, it's temporary. As the existence of Israel, we will not survive just with these kinds of agreements. Yeah. They've worked, and it's great, and I'm really happy that we have them, but we have to go to the next level, or these agreements won't last because the people don't want them.
Elizabeth, what do you think? Can economics drive peace? Can we start by getting some money into this system? Maybe it'll trickle down to the people, as Yoni says.
Well, I certainly hope so, and it's good that they're trying. You know, it took so long for this kind of endeavor to take place, but I agree with Yoni. I think that it needs to be people to people. Now, when this industrial zone grows and more Jordanians interact with Israelis, this is when things become interesting and may have a larger impact, and an impact that average Jordanians would not feel, okay, the king signed an agreement, I hate Israelis, I hate Israel, I wish we could go to war. Then maybe regular Jordanians will feel, well, the Israelis are people just like us, we don't want war, they don't want war, let's live in peace.
Yeah. All right. Last summer, Trita Parsi, the founder and president of the National Iranian American Council, gave a TEDx talk entitled Iran and Israel, Peace is Possible. He explains how just over 2 decades ago, Iran's rhetoric and ideology was anti-Israeli, but still the two countries collaborated often in a sort of secret friendship. Here it is.
The year is 1987. Ayatollah Khomeini is still alive, and much like Ahmadinejad today, he's using the worst rhetoric against Israel. Yet, Rabin referred to Iran as a geostrategic friend. Rabin's statement was a reflection of decades of security and intelligence collaboration between the two, which in turn was born out of perception of common threats. In fact, the current dynamic that you see between Iran and Israel has its roots more so in the geopolitical reconfiguration of the region after the Cold War than in the events of 1979. Because at this point, Iran and Israel emerge as two of the most powerful states in the region, and rather than viewing each other as potential security partners, they increasingly came to view each other as rivals and competitors.
All right, so if I understand him correctly, he's saying it's not ideology, it's not economics, it's not even the people. As Yoni said, it's geopolitics, and if two countries like Israel and Iran have the same goals, same enemies, peace is possible. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that it's true because, for example, right now, we in Saudi Arabia have a mutual enemy, Iran. And we don't see a peace agreement with Saudi Arabia, and they will never sign it as long as the occupation continues to take place.
Yeah, and how much are the rhetorics, what people are saying, what leaders are saying to their people about other countries, does that really play a role?
Well, I think it does play a role, but I think the part of the points that Mr. Parsi is trying to make that I agree with is that the clash between Israel and Iran is not inevitable. And it's very possible that the same configuration that we have today, that Israel and Iran will cooperate. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of, not just mutual enemies, but mutual interests. And like other feuds in the Middle East, sometimes, when you live abroad, these things seem like they go on forever and there's no solution, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not. It's a concrete reality that can change, and I believe will change. And when it will start to happen, it will happen fairly quickly.
You're in touch with Iranians pretty often. Do you see it among the people as well?
Yeah, I'm involved in several initiatives that try to connect Israelis and Iranians and create new bridges between the cultures. Right. And you can see that once you put the people together, amazing things start to happen. Israelis and Iranians have a lot of things in common, have a lot of sort of pride in their own culture, and sort of we both try to incorporate Western ideas and our own local ideas. Yeah. So.
All right, for a larger international perspective, let's take a look now at today's post.
Enemies, can we one day make peace? Doubtful that in 1870 the French and Germans would have imagined that 150 years and 3 wars later they would live peacefully side by side, and their leaders would shake hands at the Brandenburg Gate, with their only issue being the red carpet. But ending war doesn't turn people into BFFs. For instance, while Jordan and Israel celebrate 20 years of peace, there are still regular disagreements, with Jordan threatening to call back its ambassador. Or take, for example, Serbia and Albania. 2 countries no longer at war. Things heated up during a recent Euro 2016 qualifier game when a drone flew over the stadium with a Greater Albania flag. Violence ensued with Serbian supporters singing, "Kill Albanians." They're not the only 2 countries with a turbulent past and tense relations. For instance, in China, demonstrators flipped over a Japanese-made Toyota. More than half of Japanese and Chinese people believe they will have an armed conflict again in the future. But you don't always need to look outside of your country to find an enemy. Perhaps that's why Rwanda created 12,000 community courts to prosecute the genociders of 1994. While criticized by some human rights groups for its approximate justice, at least it attempted to foster peace and reconciliation on the ground and in people's hearts.
All right, so the situation isn't unique to the region, and I think we're back trying to define peace, or who defines peace? Elizabeth, who do you think defines peace? Is it the politicians or the people?
So I think obviously a peace treaty is defined by politicians. It's a document, but peace, is the way I see it, is something that is defined and shaped by people who live peace. So you see peace between nations in Europe, where in the past you saw wars, but you don't see peace between us and Jordanians and us and Egyptians. I was in Jordan recently, and people are friendly the moment you clarify that you oppose the government's policies. But before that, people assume that your policy, that your views are identical to the views of the government, and they're quite hostile.
Yeah, but you were able to visit Jordan.
Yeah, I was able to visit, and it's true that it is very secure and stable. There doesn't seem to be any likelihood that the regime there will change soon, and that's one reason why Israel doesn't invest in people to people, because it feels, oh, we can rely on this dictator, he will stay in place and he will ensure that we will have a peace treaty.
All right, we don't have a lot of time left, but we kind of avoided talking about the Palestinians till now, and I'd like to use the time that we do have left to hear your views on the current condition of the peace process, if there is even a pulse there. Let's start with you, Yoni.
Well, I think the peace process, as it is now, is kind of a lost cause, and it's kind of symptomatic to the problems that we have with the Palestinians. The bottom line is that the occupation has to end. Everything we said here is true, and people to people is very important. But if you have a process, and that process is separate from reality as we have here, then you don't really have a process. And I was thinking when we talked, right after my military service, I traveled in Guatemala. And I traveled with, I met 2 Palestinian guys, and we traveled together, and then kept joining us. We met a Lebanese guy and someone from Saudi Arabia, and we all traveled together, and we were sort of naturally attracted to each other. And so I'm saying 2 things. A, the occupation has to end. B, it has to come from us. It has to come from people who actually live in the Middle East, who know the geography, who know the field, and can interact with other people here.
Okay, I think I know who you're referring to that shouldn't be involved as much. Elizabeth, really quickly, I'm afraid.
Well, I think that interaction between people is really the way to go, and I personally interact with Arabs across the world via the internet, and people are interested in Israel, would like to visit, would like to learn more, have a more complex view of Israel. But obviously, as you've said, the occupation needs to end because no one before that will publicly state, yeah, Israel has good things about it, yeah, we can travel to Israel, we can study in Israel, etc.
Yeah, well, in the last few days we have seen things moving in a problematic direction. Let's hope that we'll take a turn to the right direction. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you, Yoni. Great to have you guys back here. That's it from us for today. I hope you enjoyed watching our show. You can find our past shows on our website, i24news.tv. And of course, you're welcome to join us again next week.